Hey guys, it's Brian. I can't wait to jump into this story. So I'm not going to waste any more time because you definitely want to hear this one. Here we go. I'm a 33-year-old male. I've always had a complicated relationship with my parents. Growing up, my younger sister, Lily, she's 30, was clearly the favorite. They were more lenient with her, gave her more opportunities, and supported her financially in ways they never did for me. For example, when I wanted to go on a school trip in middle school, they said we couldn't afford it. But when Lily wanted to go on a similar trip, they somehow found the money. This pattern continued throughout our lives. Now, Lily, she got a car for her 18th birthday, while I got a secondhand bike. I tried to move past it, but it was clear who they favored. As we grew older, the favoritism didn't stop. They helped Lily with her college expenses, while I worked multiple part-time jobs to get through school. And when I graduated, there were no celebrations, but Lily's graduation was a grand event with a lavish party. Now, despite all this, I worked hard. I built a stable career, married my wonderful wife, and tried to maintain a civil relationship with my parents. Now, a few years ago, my parents decided to downsize and move into a smaller home. Instead of selling the house we grew up in, they decided to give it to Lily. They said she needed it more because she was starting a family. Now, I was hurt. My wife and I were also planning to buy our first home and could have used the help. Now, when I brought up how unfair this was, they brushed me off, saying Lily always needed more support and acted like I was being selfish for even mentioning it. Now, the final straw came when they asked me to help them renovate their new place. They wanted me to spend weekends fixing it up for free without any acknowledgement of how hurt I felt. I refused, explaining that I wasn't willing to help after the way they handled giving away the house. They were furious, accused me of being petty, and we had a huge falling out. After that, my parents went to no contact with me for 5 years. During those years, a lot changed. My wife and I bought our own house, and we welcomed 2 beautiful children. Then, a few weeks ago, my parents showed up unannounced at my door, and I was shocked. They looked older and more tired than I remembered. They began to cry and beg for forgiveness, saying they realized how much they had hurt me. They told me that they were no longer in contact with Lily. Apparently, Lily had cheated on her husband, who then divorced her and took full custody of their kids. Her new partner, the guy she had an affair with, doesn't like my parents and forbids Lily from seeing them. Now, they were desperate to reconnect, especially since they wanted to be involved in their grandchildren's lives. I listened to them, but I wasn't quick to forgive. I told them that their actions had hurt me deeply, and that for years they had treated me as if I was less important. I then gave them an ultimatum. If they wanted to rebuild any sort of relationship with me and be a part of my children's lives, they needed to take back the house from Lily and divide its value between the 2 of us. I explained that it wasn't just about the money. It was about fairness and acknowledgement of years of favoritism. They needed to make things right if they truly wanted to show that they had changed. Now, my parents were taken aback by my demand. They said it would be difficult to take the house back from Lily, especially now that she was in a difficult situation. But I stood my ground. I told them that this was the only way I would consider moving forward. If they weren't willing to make things right, then they shouldn't expect to just walk back into my life whenever it suited them. They left my house looking defeated and quite upset. I could tell they hadn't expected me to be so firm. I haven't heard back from them yet, and honestly, I don't know if they'll agree to my terms or not. Part of me feels guilty, but another part feels relieved for finally standing up for myself and demanding fairness. So now I'm in a bit of a limbo. Did I go too far with my ultimatum? Was I wrong to demand that they take back the house and divide its value? Or was this the right move to make sure they understood how their actions have affected me? I'm still trying to think about what's best for my family and myself. Hey, it's Brian, and this next story up is absolutely unbelievable. Let's jump right in. We've been married for 6 years. She is a stay-at-home mom to our 5 and 1-year-old. I'm a surgeon who works 12 plus hours a day from 7 a.m. As the title says, really, I should note that both of our kids are crap sleepers, particularly the second. She feeds him to sleep throughout the night and he sleeps in our bed. Now, this has happened several times, but I'll give you an example. Last night we had severe winds, which she has trouble sleeping through. Because she couldn't sleep, she kept waking me up every time I fell asleep. She was getting increasingly angry but claimed earplugs weren't working, insulting me for sleeping through the storm. And when our son woke up, she then handed him to me at around 1 a.m. He absolutely hates being with anyone other than her overnight, so he hysterically cried with me for well over an hour. Now, this woke up my 5-year-old as well. Even after she took him back, she just continually woke me up every time I fell asleep. I think I got about an hour's sleep last night overall, which obviously it's not great in my line of work. This isn't the first time this has happened. Now, she claims I'm snoring and repeatedly disrupts her sleep. If she's fed up with my son feeding, she'll just hand him to me to cry, but then take him back after an hour or so, which she reinforces the cry. She has also done this when she's just been up too late on her phone watching TikToks. She also refuses to sleep train despite all this. I stay up late with her after the kids are asleep, helping around the house, and she constantly complains that I never watch the kids and probably relax all day at work, which I don't. And I don't deserve to sleep so much. I don't. I am not as good a parent as her at all, she says, and don't claim to be, but when I'm home, I do my best and always take the kids to give her time to herself. It's getting to the point where I'm just exhausted. She's able to lie in with the kids till 8 or 9, but I have to wake up at 5:30. I don't know what to do and how to resolve this dangerous situation. I've suggested maybe sleeping in different rooms for the snoring, but she said it would be unfair for me to sleep uninterrupted while she's up with the kids. Here we go with another unbelievable story. This is Brian, and I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get right into it. I am a 24-year-old female, and my husband, he's 32. I want to say my husband has never, ever behaved like this before. This is the first time he's ever scared me, and I have no idea what to do. Now, I'm 23 weeks pregnant with our first baby. We've been married for 3 years. Now, my husband owns firearms and works in law enforcement and is trained to handle them safely. They stay in a locked safe at home, and he has never once played around with them. All of that is for context. So as for what happened yesterday, I was simply walking through the kitchen and I noticed my husband at the kitchen counter looking at one of the firearms. I didn't say anything, but I looked over at him, wondering what he was doing. He'd gotten home from work, and right before this, we talked for a bit. We had dinner, and I took a shower. Everything was good as normal. As I looked at him, my husband looked at me and stared for a second, blinked, and then picked the gun up and pointed it at my tummy with a completely straight face. Now, my heart frickin' dropped, of course, and I smacked the gun down. My husband then started laughing, but the split second of pure seriousness on his face was absolutely terrifying. I asked him why the freak he did that, and he says, "Do you think it scared him?" Talking about, I assume, the baby. I didn't know what to say, but tears welled up in my eyes. This prompted a half an hour long apology and hours of comfort from him, but claims that he wasn't thinking, but also was joking. Now, the look in his eyes scared me. The fact that he pointed the gun at me is terrifying. Now, I don't know what to do. I'm so upset. I'm so distraught right now. Am I overreacting? Guys, this next story up is a good one. Let me jump right into it now. I'm Brian, and I'm going to be sharing this pretty cool story with you. I'm a 30-year-old female, and recently I gave birth to our first child. And what should have been one of the happiest moments of my life turned into an absolute nightmare. My husband, he's 32, his name's Tom, and we've always had a strong relationship, but we've had some ongoing tension regarding his overbearing mother, Linda. Now, she's 58. Linda has a history of inserting herself into our lives, but I never thought it would go this far. Now, when I went into labor, Tom and I had agreed that it would just be the two of us in the delivery room. I was clear about wanting a private, intimate experience. But when the big day came, Tom showed up at the hospital with Linda in tow, and I was in the middle of a contraction when they walked in, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Tom tried to calm me down, saying Linda was just so excited to meet the baby, but I was already furious. Despite my protests, Linda made herself comfortable and started giving me unsolicited advice on breathing techniques and whatnot. I was beyond stressed, and Tom, he wasn't helping. He kept siding with his mom, saying she was just trying to help. It felt like a betrayal. Now, when things escalated, I could no longer take it. I told Tom that if he couldn't respect my wishes, he needed to leave the room and take his mom with him. He looked shocked, but I was serious. I demanded they both get out. Tom tried to argue, but the nurses stepped in and asked them to leave. Now Tom is furious with me, saying I ruined the birth experience for him and his mom. Linda's been playing the victim, telling everyone how I kicked her out and how she just wanted to support her son. Now, even some of my in-laws are siding with her, saying I was too harsh and that I'm depriving her of a grandchild. I feel like I had every right to want privacy and my husband's undivided support during such a valuable moment. But now, the family drama is just spiraling out of control, and I'm second-guessing myself. So, am I the a-hole for kicking my husband and his mom out of the delivery room? This next story up, guys. Hey, it's a good one, and we're going to need your help on this one. I'm Brian, and I'll be sharing this story with you. I am a 32-year-old female, and I've been with my fiance, Jake. He's 34 now for 5 years. We got engaged last year, and I've been covering most of our expenses since I earn a lot more. I've even added Jake to my credit cards to help him out. Okay, my best friend, Emily, she's 31, and I've been close to her since college, and she's been like a sister to me. Now, Jake and Emily get along well, and the three of us hung out often, but a few weeks ago, I noticed Jake acting weird, being secretive with his phone, taking calls in another room, and constantly texting. I couldn't shake the feeling something was off. You know that feeling. And one night, while Jake was asleep, I checked his phone out. What I found shattered me. Explicit messages between him and Emily. Plans to meet behind my back, and even talks about a future together. I felt utterly betrayed by the two people I trusted the most. Now, the next day, while Jake was at work, I canceled all his credit cards. I removed him from our joint accounts. I packed his stuff, changed the locks, and left a note telling him never to contact me again. When he found out, he blew up, accusing me of being cruel and vindictive. Emily hasn't said a word, but I've cut off all contact with her too. Now, I'm starting to wonder if I overreacted by going nuclear. So, am I the a-hole for cutting Jake off financially, kicking him out, cutting him off, and cutting off my best friend after finding out they were cheating on me? This next story up begins with a 28-year-old female. She says, I have a younger brother, Mike, he's 26, who got engaged to his girlfriend, Rachel, who's 25, about 6 months ago. Now, from the outside, Rachel seems like a nice enough person. She's polite, she's friendly, gets along with most people. But here's the thing. Now, our entire family can't stand her, and it's not for the reasons you'd think. It all started when she met our family for the first time. Now, my parents had a pretty quirky sense of humor, and we all tease each other a lot. It's all in good fun, though, but Rachel took everything super seriously. She gets offended at harmless jokes and would sulk whenever someone teased her, even in the lightest way. We thought maybe she just needed some time to get used to us, but it only got worse. At every family gathering, she'd find a way to make everything about her. If someone talked about their job, she'd jump in with a story about how hard her work is. If we were sharing funny childhood stories, she'd cut in to talk about how tough her childhood was. And even though we're just joking around, she even tried to change our traditional holiday plans because they didn't fit her vibe. Now, the final straw came when she tried to improve my mom's cooking by adding her own spices to a dish at Thanksgiving. Now, my mom's, she's a great cook, and this did not go over well, you could imagine. Now, Rachel acted like she was doing us a favor, but it was really just insulting. I was honest and told them that while we all tried to like her, she's been stepping on everyone's toes since day one. And I mentioned how she doesn't seem to respect our family's dynamic and how her behavior at family gatherings has been pretty off-putting. Well, Mike told Rachel everything I said, and she lost it. She's called me crying, saying I've ruined her relationship with our family and that she doesn't feel welcome anymore. Now, my brother is now furious with me, saying I should have just kept my mouth shut. Now, my parents are staying out of it, but they don't disagree with what I said. Now, Rachel, she's demanding an apology, but I'm torn. I was just trying to be honest with my brother, but now I feel like I've caused a huge rift. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother the truth why our family doesn't like his fiancée? So, really, am I the a-hole?